As my eyes take in the blurry sight of the empty tavern, the hideous sound of the scraping of wood against stone assaults my ears. In a corner of the room, Alkar stumbles to his feet, the chair he's been sitting on almost toppling over. He catches it and sets it right, then grimaces briefly before stalking over to me. It's easy to see the hunch of his shoulders and the stiffness of his posture. For a moment, I wonder if he's hurt somehow, but as he comes closer, it seems more likely he's only wary, perhaps. Not unusual, but with the commotion last night, it still puts me ill at ease. I don't need supernatural senses to know that this is going to be another pebble on the mountain of mysteries. He looks a mess. What has he been doing? Rolling around on the forest floor?
Hunter, I need to speak with you.
Oh, and he's cloaked. He doesn't sound like the aloof, cocky half-lycan I've come to know. He speaks forcefully, but there's a tremor in his voice that's hard to miss. What's wrong? Oh. The frown deepens. Instead of explaining himself, Alkar holds out his hand and uncoils his fingers, revealing a crumpled ball of fabric. For a moment, I stare at him, and at the thing he's holding without comprehension. Alkar stares back, his expression telling me he thinks I'm an idiot for not getting it. But then, I realize the distinctive purple under the dirt and the dried, crusted blood, and my stomach drops. A hunter sash. Alkar is holding a hunter stash in his hand. Or what's left of it. The thing is in a sorry state, its original color almost indistinguishable under the grime. Carefully, I reach out to take it from him for closer inspection. He looks down.
It doesn't belong to the hunter that was killed last night. It doesn't belong to any of them. It's not right. The smell.
I stare at him in disbelief, shaking my head as I feel the gritty fabric between my fingers. Then who does it belong to? Alkar shrugs half-heartedly. In the tavern's uncertain light, his face is drawn and his eyes are sunken. Exhausted, I realize. But his tail still flicks back and forth, back and forth. In impatience or agitation? It's hard to tell with him. All I know is that Alkar is telling the truth, if for no other reason than because he's too worn out for deception. I tried. I couldn't tell. I searched all night with Finn's clan, but we came up short. He looks over his shoulder, checking to ensure we don't have company.
I have to be careful. I can't be seen with...
I can't be seen with such things. They'll... A sharp exhale, and he admits defeat. Shoulders drooping, ears flat against his head. There's as much as bitter resentment in his voice as there's sulk.
They'll make me pay for my generosity with my own blood. Again.
Aww. The certainty with which he says it makes my stomach drop almost as much as his grim resignation. I'm not going to let them hurt you, Alkar. I hold up the piece of scrap fabric, handing it like it's gold. It might as well be. I've no idea what it might mean for the investigation yet, but it's still very clearly something. And I'm very well aware of the trust, or perhaps desperation, that it took the seeming pariah to come and entrust it to me in person. I hear him scoff. Yeah, I pray for you. I roll my eyes at him. Aren't we talking about you and your issues there?
I don't have an issue. Well, I'm unlikely to have one if you keep mum about where you found that fabric scrap. Which I'm sure you will, yes?
Asking me to lie to my superiors already? What are we? But I speak in jest, and I make sure my tone communicates as such. I already know discretion must and will be employed once I decide to report this findings to August or the Lieutenant General. I don't want him hurt. I don't want them to hurt him. Alkar smirks at me, resting his hands on his hips. Some of their cockiness finds its way back to him, a welcoming sight, and one I'm glad to see. So, I gamble on it. There are worse odds to bet on. He leans closer suddenly, lowering his voice despite the empty tavern.
I don't know how much or how little you've decided to trust the Pomps in that workplace of yours. And I said all that shit about not trusting anyone. But just listen to me this once. Take that to Ezra, not your superior.
He regards me with beseeching intensity, eyes flickering across my face, like he's looking for some sort of gift. Something he can trust. I don't know if I can give it to him. Alkar's concern for his own well-being, I understand. This is different. Yet, I've no desire to bother Harry this morning, not after last night, and not over an inconclusive scrap of something that smells strange. August is another mystery altogether. Ezra does have a wonderful little shop full of witchy magic. In a town this small, I can only surmise he would be the one with the most tools at his disposal to suss out an analysis for something like that. It does make sense to go to him, which is all well and good because Alkar is beginning to look downright fidgety. Alright, I go to Ezra with this. Alkar stares at me for a second longer, like he doesn't know if I was being honest. Eventually, however, his shoulders relax and he takes a step back.
Then my job's done. Hope you don't mind me quitting this place. The tavern's no fun when there's nobody here to annoy.
He drops into a mocking half-as bow, his tail swishing, and then all but squeezes himself out the door right past me before I can so much as frown. I stare where Alkar had already vanished and I wonder for a moment if I should chase him down. He's no hunter, and I have a feeling, not entirely natural, that the thing out there isn't interested in lichens, witches, demons, or vampires. It's nothing to do with the killing pattern, it's... Sighing, I tuck my coat a little tighter around myself and reluctantly make to follow his path. Breakfast will have to wait. The shop is empty when I arrive, that comforting tinkle of the bell that sits above the door welcoming me. Ezra is nowhere to be seen, but I do spot a small white cat curled up at the foot of the shop counter. A curious creature, one that gives off the same soothing, magical aura as her assumed owner. Ooh, familiar. The purple curtain that separates the shop and living quarters switches, and Ezra emerges clutching a cup of steaming tea.
I'm so relieved to see that you're okay.
Oh, everyone's so worried about us. The cat's ear twitched at the sound of his voice, and she stretches, sauntering over to him and parading herself in between his legs. He ignores her, moving to place his tea upon the counter. I heard that you had departed the festival quite abruptly. We were all worried. I nod politely, offering him a clipped smile. I did, unfortunately. I hope you had enough rest. You look exhausted, not that I'm surprised after what I assume was an incredibly late evening. Would you like some tea? The sash feels heavy in my coat, and as much as I enjoy exchanging pleasantries with the witch, I'm here for a reason. I actually need your help with something quite urgent. You do? What is it? Both the cat and Ezra watch me intently as I retrieve the sash, the violet, bloodied fabric unfurling as I hold it up. The cat hisses, her head is raised as she darts into the back room. That, paired with a look on Ezra's face, unnerves me, and I sigh heavily. Exacerbated as he rushes past me to lock the front door. Deadbolt and all. He faces the door, his palms splayed flat upon the window pane. It glows a pleasant shade of blue as he whispered what I assume to be a ward incantation before he turns to join me. Though we are quite clearly alone, his voice is tactfully quiet.
Where exactly did you get that?
The words rush out of him and his aura is panicked, so much so that I begin to feel a terrible sense of unease washing over me. Ezra is the one person I truly had no hesitation about trusting from the start. Someone I thought I could rely on, but I find myself questioning his intentions. Could he possibly already know who this belongs to? And if so, How? Alkar found it in the woods last night. He told me to bring it to you, and only you. He runs a hand through his curls, and I notice that it's shaking. Ezra, are you okay? A heavy exhale, and he closes his eyes, shaking his head before he meets my gaze.
I don't think you understand. This puts us all in danger.
Danger? I don't understand, it's just a sash. I simply hope you could identify who it belonged to. You're aware of who its owner is, I assume, based on your reaction? I play dumb, disguising my interest on the fact that I know it's not the new victims. If he's hiding something, I'll find out. He moves around to the other side of the counter, nervously rearranging a pile of glowing crystals and pushing aside a dish filled with colorful gems. He spares me a glance as he takes a seat, and then he forces a smile. I wonder if it's from Harry's partner, but that kinda seems too long ago. I have an inkling, yes. May I? He holds out his hand, which I observe is now perfectly steady. I'm hesitant to part with the scrap after that little display of uncertainty, but he seems to have collected his thoughts. Are you sure? He nods, wiggling his fingers impatiently.
As sure as I'll ever be. Now, let us get this over with.
Ooh, nice magic. Looks really awesome. As soon as the sash meets his palm, a bright emerald light emanates from his fingertips. The fabric hovers midair, suspended by vibrant whirls of magic. The movement of Ezra's hand is fluid like water as he commences his spell. I watch in awe as he marks forms before him, indecipherable shapes shifting and changing. His eyes are alight, brighter than ever as the blood that coats the sash seems to pull away from the fabric, suspended alongside his magic. It's beautiful, a truly impressive display, but I ensure I don't take my eyes off him for even a second. His lips part, his brow deeply furrowed as he concentrates. He doesn't look pleased, and I'm not entirely sure exactly what he's doing. But whatever it is, I just hope that it helps. This is the first solid piece of evidence I've managed to get my hands on, and I refuse to rest until I get a name. A sharp inhale, and Ezra closes his eyes tight, the magic dissipating, and the sash falls and settles upon the wood. He drops his head, his knuckles tight as he grips the edge of the counter. I had a feeling. Ezra, work with me here. I do need you to be honest. He looks scared, maybe even a little upset.
This is way bigger than me, but I can't in good conscience keep this from you.
And? I'm not sure if he's talking directly to me, or if he's reassuring himself. I suspect it's the latter. I try to remain calm, and I truly am surprised that yet another person in this town has managed to refrain from divulging potentially valuable information. This sash belongs to a girl named Aya Walker. He pushes away from the counter, putting distance between himself and the sash, eyeing it warily. And who exactly is Aya Walker?
I really shouldn't say anymore. I would hate for any harm to come to you because of me.
Harm? Who would harm me over something as insignificant as a name? I'm growing increasingly more frustrated as the minutes pass by, and Ezra can tell. I know he's not stupid. If anything, he's too smart. I suppose he's just looking out for himself, but whatever knowledge he's retaining is clearly valuable, and I must know. I think back to what Omen said only a few nights ago, about Finn visiting less, about Ezra being tired all the time. Is this connected somehow? I take a cautious step forward, aware that with him being this emotional, that I could very well startle him. I spread my hands, showing my palms in a gesture of peace as I approach. Ezra, I'll make sure you don't get punished.
It's not that simple.
I can see he's growing increasingly more frustrated, most likely with himself. I've always had the impression that Ezra is truly an honest man, so that whatever he's hiding, he must be doing so with good reason. I hope.
She was a hunter, a general. A good one, too. Another of Lunaris' finest. She'd only recently transferred here from a few towns over when she was arrested.
I try not to look too confused, but I can't help the way my eyes widen when he says that. Arrested? He nods. Hunters, especially of a general's rank, are very rarely thrown in the dungeons for minor transgressions. We are too valuable, so what did she do? And you know why? Nobody outside the enforcers does. I didn't know what to do with this information. A young general being thrown into the dungeon is alarming, especially when there's no apparent reason. Treason, murder, unlawful torture. These are all things that I know hunters have been imprisoned for, but never without the public having full knowledge. Such events are not usually quiet ones. We have families and friends. We save lives. There must be something, somewhere, that tells me why she was stripped of her title and thrown in a cell. I take the sash from the counter and tuck it back inside my coat, and Ezra keeps a close eye on the movement, as if it may jump out and bite him. Who was her enforcer? I could guess it's August. Ezra throws me that look again, the one where he looks sad and reluctant. Gus. I knew it. Of course, because I don't have enough on my plate already. He really scrambles to a statement, clearly not wanting me to think ill of August.
Only in the interim while her transfer was processed. She and Piper hit it off quite quickly, but she was gone before she had a chance to thrive.
So maybe we can ask Piper. I take a step toward the door and Ezra nervously follows. Where are you going? He looks like he wants to reach out and stop me, but he thinks better of it. I'm going to clear my head before... I don't know. I reach to turn the locks, then for the handle, watching his words shimmer and fade as reluctantly waves his hand. Something begs at me to pause. Tell me, why are you so afraid?
I'm scared to learn the truth. I've only ever wanted to find somewhere to settle, somewhere quiet and away from the things that gave me nightmares. I found that here. I found love, a family, and yet...
You found love. Nothing lasts forever. He shakes his head.
Everything crumbles, eventually.
Oh.
That's why I'm afraid. I just want a normal life.
Oh, I want to hug him. We stare each other down for a lingering moment, and I truly feel sorry for him, for everyone in this town. I assume that associating yourself with creatures doesn't grant you much peace, right? It does not. I drop my head, my mind swimming. People are dying and being thrown in dungeons. I've got your back, Ezra, just as long as you have mine. Thank you. Just stay safe. We need you. No. Chill air hits me as soon as I open the door of Ezra's shop and step outside. It hisses in my ears, piercing through my layers like it wants to chase me back indoors. I can think of no alternative more enticing, but my work is done here and I need to move on. Not a moment less well timed, it seems, as I close the door and immediately notice a familiar face skulking about just out of my vision until now. Omen startles when he realizes that I've spotted him. He takes a full step away from me, one hand half raised, his tail lashing like a snake. For reasons I can't even begin to fathom, there's genuine fear on his face. Omen. I take a moment to look him over. Omen seems, by all accounts, unhurt. At least he isn't hurt enough that it interferes with his glamour despite his obvious distress. Under my scrutiny, Omen takes half a step back, hugging himself, and I hasten to put him at ease. He isn't an enemy, least of all I'm willing to make. It's alright. I was just surprised to see you is all. Oh. Oh, he's very much blushing. Omen looks away for a moment, embarrassed. Then he offers me a half smile, visibly relaxing.
I've been hiding. Things seem to be tense right now.
I can't help but sigh at that. That's one way to put it. I gesture vaguely at him. But what about you? You seem to be in a hurry. Is something wrong? Omen's eyes widen. He opens his mouth, doesn't say anything for a moment, then shuts it. I am looking for someone. Omen says this very quietly, like he's confessing a secret. He scans my face with eyes flicking red rather than the usual warm brown. I wait, since there's little else I can say. Then something seems to resolve. Omen looks from me to Ezra's door, and takes a step back, his mouth tight.
She's probably not in there. I should get going. It's nice seeing you again.
Ooh. He makes to turn away, and I don't know what moves me to act. Perhaps it's his aura. The way I suddenly sense it swell under his glamour, and spot the wisp of flame trailing from his hair and the tip of his ears. Perhaps he's walking away, and I simply can't let him go right now. Perhaps I'm tired of one more fucking mystery in this town. Either way, I reach out and grab his wrist. Wait. And instantly regret it. He scorches my hand, forcing me to withdraw with a small cry. Ooh, he looks way more demonic in this artwork. Omen looks over his shoulder at me with glowing amber eyes, his lips drawn back in a half snarl. His still eerily human face is framed by a wreath of fire. My guts clench, twist, drop under the sudden glimpse of an immense, blistering presence that sprung out of nowhere. My instincts scream at me in warning. Demon. Then Omen jerks back a thought as though out of a trance. And everything extinguishes. I don't know how long we stand outside Ezra's shop with the space of a sword swing between us. Omen's arms are limp by his sides, making no move to defend himself. All he does is stare at me with huge eyes and palpable horror.
I'm sorry.
Oh. I mean... I force my mouth open to tell him it's alright. I've had worse, really. But I can only pry my jaw apart. The words I can't force through. He's not waiting to hear them. He's stepping away, 1, then 2, then 3, and he turns around and flees. I'm very curious about his Roman route too. I can't move my legs to follow. By the time I get enough control of myself back, Omen's already long gone. In hindsight, I'm glad I couldn't follow him. It takes a tremendous effort for me to pry my stiff fingers from the comfort of my weapon. Been sitting in my room at the wharf, waiting for the sun to set, waiting for darkness to fall, so I can carry out my next move. No messenger had come to summon me to headquarters, and neither had August come to bang down my door. I gather that the identification of the deceased hunter is taking a little longer than expected. Or... many dark things crossed my mind, but I pushed them away. I meant it when I said that I'm tired of being pushed from pillar to post, kept in the dark. Enough is enough. If this town wants saving, then I'll do it on my own terms.